Okay, now that the body of our hat measures 16 centimetres as measured from the cast on edge, we're ready to start shaping the top of our hat. So that's this shaping here, so these decreases here, so the hat gets smaller at the top of the hat here. I've got my stitch markers ready, and you'll notice that I've got this extra little bit clipped to my first stitch marker. This is my beginning of round stitch marker, and I want it to be different than all my other stitch markers that I'm about to place in my round now, so that I know where the beginning / end of my round is, because it looks a little bit different to all my other markers. You might like to use a different colour marker for the beginning, or maybe you've got a different style marker that you could use for the beginning to indicate that, or do something similar to what I've done here. So the setup round for our shaping is to knit 8, and then place a marker. So I just slip that onto my right hand needle, and then I knit 8 again and place a marker, and I do that all the way around. Place another marker, knit another 8, place another marker, place another marker, place another marker, and then I'll place my last marker there, and then knit to the end. Now we're ready to start our first round of decreases. So I'll slip my beginning marker, and I'm going to knit 6, and knit 2 together. So I've got 2 stitches remaining before my marker, and I'm going to knit them together. So I'm knitting 2 stitches at the same time, just knit as usual. I slip my marker, and I'm going to repeat that sequence all the way to the end. So knitting 6 or 2 stitches before my marker, and then knit 2 together. Slip my marker all the way around. knit 2 together, knitting 2 together, and then my last 2 are knit together. And now my second round, and every alternative round, so every second round, I will just knit every single stitch. And when I get to a stitch marker, I just slip it across. Knitting all the way around, slipping my markers as I go. Slip my marker. Because you're reducing so many stitches per round on the decrease rounds here, each round gets a little bit faster, which is good. You're on the home stretch now. And now I'm up to the end of that round and I'm back to my beginning stitch marker with the little extra tag on it. And my third round of decreases, I knit 5 and then knit 2 together. Or you can also think about it as knitting until 2 stitches before my marker, which is what I've got here. Here's my marker, and I've got 2 stitches before the marker, and I'll knit those 2 together. Slip my marker, knit until 2 stitches before the marker. There's my marker, here's my 2 stitches, and I'll knit them together. Slip my marker and keep doing that all the way around. Two stitches before my marker, knit them together. You might have to do a little bit of extra shuffling with your stitches as you decrease because the circumference gets a little bit smaller. So you have to do a little bit of shuffling around the needle, but that's okay. Just takes a little bit of extra patience. And I'm on the home stretch now. Knit my last 2 stitches together, and there's my beginning / end of round marker. Slip that across, and now I just knit every stitch in this round. So far I've decreased 14 stitches. just about around. Now we're up to the 5th round of decreases, and once again I'll knit till 2 stitches before my marker, which doesn't take long because we've decreased a lot of stitches now, and then knit 2 together. I'll repeat that all the way to the end. Knit 2 together. Knit 2 together. And knit 2 together. Slip that beginning of round marker across, and now we have a plain knit round before we do another decrease round. And we are almost finished our hat. Just about there. Okay, I missed one of my decreases, so I'm up to a decrease round. And if you're knitting the child size, this will be your final decrease round, and you will skip ahead to the finishing instructions after this round of decreases. But if you're making the adult size, you've got one more round of decreases to go. And it is at this point that you might find you really do have to do some shuffling of those stitches around the needle. It starts to get a little bit awkward and a little bit tricky, but it's still doable. And now if you are doing the child size, that's where you'll skip ahead to the finishing instructions. Because I'm doing the adult size, I'll do one more plain round and then one more decrease round. Now we're up to our very last decrease round for the adult size, so it's knit two together all the way around, so that's a nice easy one to remember. Just about there. So we've now completed our decrease rounds for the adult size and the children's size, and we're ready to finish our beanie. So you should have 24 stitches remaining if you're making the child size and 21 stitches remaining if you're making the adult size. You can see that it's quite small there on top. Still got all my stitch markers in there, but they can come off as we finish. So to finish my hat, I'm going to cut my yarn. I'm leaving myself a generous tail so that I've got plenty of yarn to work with. I'm going to thread my yarn through a needle like this one with a big eye, so I don't have to struggle to thread it. So now my yarn is threaded through my needle, and I'm going to take my first stitch marker off. I don't need that anymore. And I'm going to pass my needle through the stitches and take them off the knitting needle as I do so. I'm going in purlwise when I do this. I'm not twisting the stitches by going in knitways. I'm going in purlwise as I do it, removing the stitch markers as I come to them. And I'll do this all the way around until I've got all the live stitches that are on the knitting needles threaded onto my yarn here. Removing my stitch markers as I come to them. And you may need to gently shuffle your stitches around your needle as you're doing it, just so they're easy to access. Just about finished. Okay, so now I've got all my stitches that were on my knitting needle on my yarn, and I'm pulling it tight, but I'm doing it gently. I'm not yanking the yarn. Pulling it tight so you can see the top of my hat is zooming up, cinching up there. And what I'm now going to do is pass that needle underneath those stitches so I can reinforce that as well. Pull it nice and tight. You can see I'm getting a nice little cinch there on top of the hat, and I'm passing it through those stitches once more, really gently doing so. Going in the same direction as I pass them onto my needle, onto this needle, continuing in that same direction. And I've gone all the way around now, so that's good reinforcement. Now I can go down the centre there, just pass my needle through. You can see that's nice and neat on the top there. Nice shaping on the crown. And then I can turn my hat inside out where I can weave my yarn end in. Don't want to go too much around there or you end up with a bit of a hard, like a gum nut. We don't want that. It can be a bit uncomfortable. So I'm just going to weave it in and out of my work here. Just so I'm going to go back and forth gently in several directions so that it will not come undone, but also so it is not showing on the outside of the hat. I know that it's not showing on the outside of the hat when I use this method, so I feel comfortable doing it without looking, but you might like to check on the other side of your hat just to make sure it's not showing through. I can see it's not showing through. But that's pretty good there. I can give it a little trim. And now we can also weave in our tail from our cast on as well, a long tail cast on. I thought I was being a bit generous with my long tail, but it was just the right length actually. So I've threaded the tail through my needle and I'm going to weave that in as well. I'm going to weave it up one of the columns of rib here, just by doing this. Straight up there, and then I'm going to just pull it tight, and I'm going to bring it back down the other side of that column with a similar action, but not all the way down. And then I'm going to trim it. And then we will have one finished hat. Well done. There you go. There is your finished ruby hat, knit in the round, all finished, no seams, and you've done it. Look at that. You've made a hat. Well done. Now you can put a pom-pom on it if you like. You can leave it as it is. But now you're ready for winter. Thanks. Bye.